In literature, an archetype portrayed by a character, an object, or a situation represents a universal pattern of human nature. Carl Jung, a psychologist, argues that an archetype is created when the experiences of an entire culture or race are repetitive. This includes love, death, survival, happiness, and so on. All these experiences slowly find their way into our literature and other forms of art, whether it's subconsciously or on purpose to give deeper meaning to our work. For decades, flowers have been connected to symbols of hope, love, mourning, and many other emotions felt in our lives. And although that does sound very pagan-esque, an immense amount of these symbols are European in origin. The main role that flowers play, their inherited idea or mode of thought that we as humans have given them, is to represent a specific emotion or series of feelings. Usually these feelings are present in a relationship. If someone thinks relationships, they usually go straight to love, then that means roses, then rose petals on beds, then babies, and well, what if the relationship is a flop? Women rejecting a guy would best off be just like sending them yellow flowers. Yellow often signifies friendship. These two motifs have a Victorian root, but none of us live in the 1800s. I personally would like to get behind something more modern, something influential, like the anime. So, the Japanese system of Hanakatoba is how the Japanese symbolize their flowers, and it is ever present in anime and manga. Cherry blossoms, white lilies, and sunflowers are the most common. Ironically, these flower references appear in shoujo-style genres. This demographic category is aimed mainly at preteen to teenage girls. The sunflowers represent warmth and happiness and can be quickly found through a brief skim of manga such as Genki Girl and those like it. Lilies have a more sexual tone. And the subcategory of Yuri, which means lily, also stands for lesbian romance. Moving on. The most common floral element in anime and other Japanese media, falling sakura petals, or cherry leaves. Now, they have several interconnected meanings depending on who they are falling on and the context thereof. Usually they depict the coming of spring, but more often they are representative of love. What we've just gone over, the different meanings of flower, is a little harder to grasp because we hardly see these archetypes used in such a manner. But theme naming is what really brings a flower archetype to life. Now, for anyone that reads books, they might remember a certain scene in Little Women. While Laurie and Amy are talking on a walk through a rose garden, Laurie gets pricked by a red rose that he tries to pick while thinking of Jo, whom he last saw when she turned down his marriage proposal. Amy then gives him a thorn-free white rose. Laurie, being a nerd, instantly thinks of color symbolism. Red roses are for romance, white roses are for funerals, and he wonders if this is either a sign about his changing feelings for the two sisters or an omen of death. He chides himself for being so superstitious and laughs it off, but since eventually he and Amy fall in love and Beth dies, it's not that funny. Since we're only talking about roses, if someone managed to read the entire Song of Ice and Fire series by George R. R. Martin, the winter rose, they may have noticed, is a symbol of the doom and forbidden love for the Stark family. If none of these really connected with you, maybe Harry Potter will, because a huge number of characters in the Harry Potter series have the name of a flower in their names, including Harry's mother, Lily Evans, named after the Victorian, not Japanese flower of death and mourning, and her sister, Petunia Evans. These two flowers are exact opposites of each other, although both are pretty, and petunias are a really popular garden flower. They nevertheless fall into the same family as the deadly nightshade, which represents resentment and anger. Both of these kind of represent the characters in the stories pretty well. Now, Hogwarts, the school nurse at Hogwarts, Madame Poppy Pomfrey, also carries around a few flower references. In fact, she has two. Poppies are a popular sign of remembrance in Great Britain and in the Commonwealth countries, as well as a source of the opiate family for painkillers, including codeine, morphine, and derivatives thereof. Now, Pomfrey, her last name, is one letter removed from comfrey, and an ancient medical plant. Now, the root of the comfrey plant contains allotonin. It's a compound that accelerates the healing of skin wounds. It's almost something magical. Now, honestly, if no one really cared about these, but if you're a total nerd, you might know what would happen if you added powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood. If you don't, look it up.